Today I want to take a look at the reflective process in nursing. To do this, I'm going to use the Gibbs cycle of reflection. Reflection is an incredibly transformative process, and it allows us to have a commitment to continuous development. I was caring for a patient in the majors area of the emergency department who had been very recently diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer and spinal metastases. He had attended the emergency department because he had been in back pain, and the Macmillan nurse was concerned that he may be suffering from spinal cord compression. The doctor assessed him and decided to do an MRI scan. He had been prescribed 20 milligrams of PRN oral morphine. I introduced myself, did the patient's blood pressure, and completed his nursing assessments. I got him and his wife a cup of tea and biscuits and asked if he wanted any analgesia. He was unsure as his pain was currently settled, but said that pain often came on very quickly. His wife had been administering 2.5 to 5 milligram doses of oral morphine from home, the latest being approximately 1 hour ago. We decided to give him a dose before he was called for his MRI scan. I added the morphine to my jobs list and continued to attend to another patient. The gentleman had gone to scan prior to me being able to return with the morphine. On return from the scan, the patient was very upset. When I asked what had happened, he told me that a member of staff in the scan department had suddenly and abruptly lowered the back of his bed without warning. This caused him significant pain, and he was then unable to tolerate the scan. He said that he wanted to go home. I apologised about the care that he had received and expressed how that this was not the kind of care that he should have received. I told him that I would be completing an incident form relating to the incident to ensure it was investigated and that it does not happen again. I apologised that I had not managed to give him any analgesia before he had been taken to scan and administered it to him. I asked if he would consider staying for his planned admission and perhaps return to scan with plenty of analgesia on board and an escort to ensure the correct movement and handling of him. I was deeply saddened by this incident, as I felt I had failed the patient at a time when he was already going through a distressing time. I felt that I had failed to ensure the patient had received adequate analgesia prior to the investigation, which may have helped with movement and handling related pain. I was disappointed that the member of staff within my organisation had acted without compassion and had failed to provide communication to the patient. I was angry that the very high workload in the department had resulted in the patient going to scan before I could return to him with analgesia, and disappointed in myself that I had not prioritised this. Mostly, I felt a deep sense of sorrow for the patient and his wife, that they were experiencing a very sad situation and that we had not able to help him in the way I would have liked to. My communication and assessment of the patients were to a good standard for the patient prior to going to the scan. I had ascertained his current situation and developed a plan of care, taking into consideration his wants and needs. Unfortunately, once the plan had been made, I did not communicate this plan to the area coordinator, who had sent the porter to the patient for scan without ensuring he received his analgesia. Instead, I became involved in the care of another patient, when I should have made this a priority, as it resulted in the patient not receiving the treatment plan I had put in place. The member of staff in the department is accountable to adhere to movement and handling procedures with any patient who attends for scans, for example, lowering beds gently with warning. The bed was lowered with no warning or due care and attention. This means that the patient had received a poor standard of care. I was able to use my compassion and dedication to good practice to empathise with the patient's situation. Nordhaus in 2018 described the trait approach, identifying effective leaders are sensitive to their emotions and the impact of their emotions on others. I was able to use this to express to the patient I was sorry that his care had been substandard and ensured him that we would take measures to improve. I then followed through on these promises by taking action as outlined in the action plan that follows. The lack of care and empathy displayed in the movement and handling of the patient could highlight a systemic problem within the radiology department. Staff are working in environments of high pressure, high workload, and where poorly led and which are poorly led display less empathy, compassion, and are less productive. In developing people and improving care framework, NHS Improvement 2016 state that good quality leadership shapes the behaviours of everyone in the organisation and directly affects the quality of care they provide. While systemic leadership in the department may have been a contributing factor in the management of this patient, the practitioner is also responsible for their individual actions to uphold standards. In the Code, the NMC 2018 Section 1.1 states that we have a responsibility to treat people with kindness, respect, and compassion. My initial feelings of sadness and disappointment in my own personal failings to this patient then gave rise to an anger in the departmental situation, which made prioritising care between too many patients and an unrealistic workload impossible to manage. Lack of situational awareness, poor communication, and fear of escalating concern is highlighted in the major failures of the leadership of Mid Staffordshire NHS Foundation Trust, Francis 2013. It has become an expectation in the department that staff will work in environments of high stress, increased workloads, which has led to the lack of reporting and escalating of issues. Reflecting on this event has allowed consideration of factors that has led to the substandard care of this patient. A lack of communication between nurses and area coordinators has been highlighted in previous department adverse incident learning action plans. As such, the leaders of our department have used clinical governance measures of learning from failures to develop new ways of working. An example of this is how nurses hand over to each other when working in our busiest area, the majors area of the emergency department. Staff are now expected to do bedside handovers for the named nurses of each patient rather than a large handover. This aims to minimise poor communication and improve safety. Re-auditing and evaluation of findings is needed to complete the audit cycle. This reflection also highlights the need to hold practitioners accountable for their actions, even those who are not part of registered bodies such as the NMC or GMC. Healthcare workers in all areas of the NHS are responsible for maintaining safety standards and delivering quality care that is expected of the NHS. I will use this feedback I receive from adverse incidents as my learning process. A datix was completed to highlight the incident to the relevant department and ensure staff can learn from the incident and improve the quality of the service. As mentioned above, moving and handling practices will need to be addressed by the staff involved in the radiology department. Staff may need to complete their mandatory training for moving and handling again. In future, I will consider very carefully those patients who need escorting to the radiology department. Though this was not indicated with this patient, good analgesia would have improved his experience. I will improve my communication with the area coordinators to ensure that they know the patient was not ready for scan until analgesia had been given, and I will prioritise my care to ensure pain control is high on my priority list. Reflecting on this event has highlighted a need for improved leadership in the department and need to escalate when workload pressures have potential to affect patient safety. The healthcare leader. Thanks for watching. I hope this video has encouraged you to reflect upon your practice and look for ways to continually improve.